Oh, wait, something's going wrong here.
I'll take the chance to have some coffee.
Yeah. Okay. We are live on three platforms, so we'll go with that.
All right.
Welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams Show. I'm your host Manoj Agarwal, and today we'll be talking with Amber Spears. So Amber is a recognized industry thought leader in affiliate marketing, serving as both a coach and a keynote speaker. As the co-founder of East Fifth Avenue, Amber has driven impressive growth for her clients, generating over $530 million in revenue in the past 8 years. Her company has trained over 2,500 businesses with proprietary methods that have reshaped the landscape of affiliate management and education. Amber's expertise is frequently sought after on prestigious stages such as Traffic and Conversion, Mindshare Summit, and Affiliate Summit West, among others. Her client roster includes notable names like Clickbank, Agora, and SaaS Academy, showcasing her ability to elevate brands across diverse industries. In addition to her work with East Fifth Avenue, Amber also is a founder of Four Rooms Mastermind, a community focused on empowering entrepreneurs through high quality relationships and peer support. Her mission with Four Rooms is to help entrepreneurs build meaningful connections that inspire personal and professional growth. Amber's impact on the industry is profound, combining her passion for affiliate marketing with a commitment to helping others succeed through education, community, and innovation. Welcome, Amber.
Thank you so much for having me. When I hear my bio being read, I'm like, oh wow, I forget how much I've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's usually the case with the high achievers. They continue to move forward and they leave a trail behind of a lot of accolades. But let's recap that trail and help us understand who you are, how you got started, what got you here. So that'll be great to get to know you as a person.
Thank you, my friend. I really feel like it's God is the reason why I'm even here. Like, to be honest, like when I thought about my life when I was young, both of my parents had never gone to college. No one in my family on either side of my family had ever gone to college or graduated from college. And I was living in a group home in my teens, and it was really, I think, the hand of God when at my fourth high school in 4 years,
Mm.
my guidance counselor, a wonderful woman named Hollis Hemingway, who's just a complete delight. She kept pulling me into her office and was like, Amber, where are you going to college? And I was like, I'm not going to college. No one in my family ever has. And she was like, your grades are awesome. You're a great kid. I really think you can get the McNair Scholarship. It's a very prestigious scholarship, similar to the Gates Millennial. It's for first generation low income college students, and I want you to apply. And she forced me to apply. I ended up getting it fully funded to the University of Arizona, and then I ended up getting the Ronald E. McNair Scholarship as well. And I just fell in love with just higher education, and while I was there, because of the Dorrance Scholarship, they had an experience where non-business majors that were part of Dorrance could take part in the Eller College of Business summer program. And that's where I got my first taste of entrepreneurship. And I was like, wait a minute, like there's this whole world out there of business that I never even imagined. And it was my professor on that summer program. I ended up getting like another degree from there because I loved it so much. He basically was sharing with everyone that if he could do everything his way again, start all over, he would do this thing called SEO, and he believed that that would be the future of how we found things, restaurants, businesses. And I was like, this guy's smarter than me. And while I was getting ready to study for the LSAT, I was going to be an attorney. I saw this ad in Craigslist that said, "We cracked Google's search engine.
Mm-hmm.
Apply here." And I was like, okay. Well, I remember what my professor said, and ended up walking into this office that was like, a couple folding chairs, and it was Alona, my business partner in East Fifth, and her husband, and ended up selling search engine optimization door to door to businesses that did not want it. They were like, I'm paying Dex and Yellow Pages a bunch of money. I don't need to pay you. And we're charging $75 a month. And that's when I really like saw the power of marketing, because we had call tracking on, and all of a sudden I'd see my local vet clinics getting like 300, 400, 500 calls in a month. And like, they're like opening up new offices and doing all these things. And I was like, wow, like we can really make an impact on these different business owners' lives. And like every career shift that I've had, it's listening to what people who are really smart or believed in me said about me or about the future, and jumping in on that. And, I believe those people are put in my life through God, really looking out for me, because I really, you look at my background and my history, I really shouldn't be here, right? So I feel incredibly blessed.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, I mean, as I said, like I think we all have stories, we all have challenges, but I believe we are all meant to be wherever we are meant to be, and we'll end up there. So like you come from a background where your family didn't go to college, but then did you end up going straight into entrepreneurship, or like you said that you had aspirations to become an attorney? So how did you weigh all those I mean, entrepreneurship is very risky, so did you have to make those decisions? Did you have to consult with somebody and say, hey, I'm considering like going from this safe kind of a path of being an attorney or whatever, a traditional career, into this entrepreneurship thing? Like did you have to make a decision there, or it was an easy choice?
That's a great question. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my dog, but it's a dog we're watching, and I'm just going to tell my partner to tell me to be quiet. But that's a good question. So here's what happened. When I was selling search engine optimization door to door to businesses that did not want it, and we started picking up steam, and I started believing in it, I became an evangelist for SEO. And in that process, I can't remember if it was by year 2, we added 57 attorneys under my account. So I was personally working with them, and I was like, maybe I pushed the LSAT off another year, because I was like really in the mix. And to be honest, being homeschooled before that, I did not test well. Like I still don't test well on things. My parents gave me real world experience. They never gave me like math or science or anything like that. And I asked every single one of those attorneys, I said, do you like being an attorney? And would you recommend me becoming one if you could change it? And every single one of them, except for one, said no. They all said, no, I'm miserable. I have a crippling student debt. Like I cannot do it. If I could change it, I would. And I was like, wow, that's probably the best answer that I could have gotten. I definitely don't want to be behind a desk. And so Mike and Alona saw very early on that I was definitely a rainmaker. And they were like, hey, we're going to open up different offices in different states. And so we went ahead and did that together, and it was really exhilarating. And then I got really burnt out of being a manager. Like I'm not a manager. That's not my skill set. It's developed, as I become an entrepreneur. But I was really burnt out of doing that. So I ended up taking a job with Early to Rise, which was an Agora subsidiary, learning copywriting, because I love to write. And I realized very quickly that I'd spent, again, all my time behind a desk. And I took over their affiliate program. At the time, I was doing like $10,000 a month. And I built it up to around $300,000 a month in a couple months, and did multi-million-dollar launches, and realized that I'm pretty good at that. And then, like many salespeople, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but as you start to make more and more money, all of a sudden your comps start changing. That happened to me multiple times in the businesses that I was at. And, I got pulled in the conversation, like, you're making more money than the CEO. We're going to have to change your comp plan. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, that's not fair. And so that's when I decided, I was like, you know what? I have all this experience in sales. I'm looking out into the general market. All the affiliate managers that I'm quote unquote competing with, I see them as collaboration. I think there's a reason why I'm doing better than them. I'm a trained salesperson by trade. By that time, 6 years in of selling, millions of dollars a year worth of marketing. And I just took the jump. And I was very fortunate that I had significant success immediately. And I had people that saw me working at different companies and wanted to hire me right away. And, we did amazingly well just from the jump. I think East Fifth did, we were bootstrapped. It was like Alona and I, we did over $1 million in our first 8 months, which is saying a lot because had a really low retainer. I think it was $1,000 or $2,000 a month. And that was just what we were making, on performance. So, it was crazy. It felt risky, but it didn't either. At the same time, I felt like it would be more of a risk to stay in places that kept changing the rules than leaving and making my own rules.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it also seems like that element of self-belief coupled by real world results is also very important. So I think that's great that you got that. Now, how did you transition then over into what you are doing now? So you're part of multiple communities. You have launched your own masterminds. Can you first explain to people what is a mastermind? What is the benefit of a community like yours?
It's a great question. I think Napoleon Hill's probably the first person I know that talked about the power of a mastermind and getting industry tycoons together to be true thought partners of each other and collaborate together and grow together. And that's really how I see my mastermind. It's a group of people committed to growing together, to sharing what's working, to sharing what's not working, to really walk, with each other through life. And, we've had it for 8 years, and it's just been one of the biggest blessings in my life. And when I started East Fifth Avenue, a couple of years later, started what's now Four Rooms Mastermind, because I felt really called to put together a community of my favorite clients and my friends and my mentors and my heroes and see if we could come together with a common purpose, which was, to me, a lot of masterminds now are actually really conferences, because you have kind of the stars in the front, right? And then they're talking to big groups of people, maybe hundreds or thousands. And they're not the same level, right? Not just revenue level, but just experience level. And so I wanted to form a community based on customization and curation. So in our mastermind, you have to apply to get in. There's minimum thresholds for revenue, but it's also, I want to attract in people that are interested in their legacy, interested in their impact, interested in their health, interested in cultivating true, deep relationships, not just extracting the value from the community and leaving, and then the customization aspect. So everything we've done is driven on intake forms, really in-depth intake forms. So that's how we pick who's speaking main stage. That's how we pick who's driving breakout rooms. That's how we pick where you're sitting at dinners and, in general session. We kind of democratize that. And I think that lends itself to people really sharing what's going on, because they feel like they're in a room with their peers. And it's not a room where, I'm sure you experience this, where you go into different rooms and you're the biggest person in the room, or you're the most knowledgeable. And then it feels like you're giving, and that's great to give, but that extraction without reciprocation is really challenging. And I think that's how we've created a refuge in our community. And we have strict codes of confidentiality at the mastermind events and stuff like that. Because I think that, that curation part is so important. The fastest way to suck joy out of a community for me is the wrong people in there. And, not to say one bad apple can spoil a bunch, but one bad apple can cause some serious damage. Mm-hmm. And having, codes of ethics and guidelines and curation and standards, I think has helped us have the reputation that we've had. And it's such a blessing, because, if something's happening in my life, my ads are not working, or I'm slapped with an unexpected tax bill, or you name it, whatever it is, key team member leaves, I need an integrator, whatever it is, I have a community of hundreds of some of the smartest and most successful entrepreneurs that I know that I can call on, that are excited to help me. And it feels a lot less lonely, because I feel like entrepreneurship can feel so lonely. If you're having a bad month, you don't really want to talk to your team about it, right? You have to keep morale high. You don't want to scare your partner, for having a few bad months in a row, right? You're trying to move money around. You're trying to figure out what's going on. You certainly don't want to tell your customers or your clients. So it becomes this lonely thing, because who do you talk to? If you talk to your friends that are not entrepreneurs, are like, must be nice to have, $100,000 million problem. Like, they don't understand. But if you're in the wrong community with entrepreneurs, it becomes this competitive thing where you feel even more alone. You're like, well, I can't really share this because what will people think? Right. And it's just this isolation that ends up happening that I really feel called to solve as best I can through my community, because I want them to be talking about these things. And of course, the great stuff too. Like, of course, like, celebrate your record breaking month, celebrate the exit. This is also a place where you can do that, and not feel like you have to hide, the successes that you have. And I just think that's so important for entrepreneurs to have that, whether it's my group or someone else's. There's so many great ones out there, that they have an opportunity to join, because, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm too busy for that. And I'm like, but honestly, you cannot keep going like this, because you're going to have a problem or a challenge, and you're going to want to have an army of really smart people behind you who have already been through this, that you can count on.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think you obviously mention a lot about entrepreneurship, but in general, I think people who want to make a huge impact, it can be a lonely road, whether they are in a corporate profession or entrepreneurship. And one of my mentors taught me earlier on, it's like, we always trying to achieve something, but we always get wrapped up into, okay, how are we going to do that, how are we going to do this? And he said, it's never the how, it's always the who. Like,
Always.
who can help me get this? Because we can obviously cannot learn everything or execute on everything. So having that community, I think, is a wonderful gift for sure. So tell me, now a little bit about, obviously I am knee deep into AI, and you talked about search engine changing the landscape of marketing. So how do you see some of the new technologies like AI coming forward now, which are yet again changing the landscape or creating new opportunities, new challenges? How do you see the world, from your vantage point, as a leader of all these communities?
Such a great question, in so many ways. I mean, I think that for our marketers, AI is making it so much easier to generate images, for products, thumbnails, like anything to create content. They're able to crank out high quality ebooks or trainings or courses or anything, just like so much faster. And to be able to get things out that used to take, I don't know, you have the copywriter write it, then you write the VSL or the long form sales page, then you design it, then you get it up, then you test it. It could be 4 or 5 months, and now it can be done in a couple of weeks, which is crazy. For people that are like course creators or gurus or whatever, personal brands with their faces, being able to take the AI clone of them and to be able to have them, doing stuff with their courses, and especially in different languages. Like, I was just talking to Mark Ford and Rich Sheffrin. I don't know if you know them, but Mark Ford's the co-founder of Agora, and Rich Sheffrin is just a legend in the internet marketing space. And they were sharing with me that they are using AI to redo a lot of their courses in Japanese, and that they were shocked at how much income they're generating from that. And also just the reach, and the community that they're building. That was the thing they were most excited about, was being able to connect with these entrepreneurs across the world because of these tools has been transformative and opened up new markets for them. And I just love that. And there's so many examples of that, inside of our community that we're learning, things like cutting down customer service tickets has been incredible, supercharging your employees, whether they're developers or, whether they're your project managers. There's just so many applications to it that are incredible. And, from an affiliate marketing perspective, besides being able to spin up new creatives super fast, create personalized pages or, what have you, there's new AI technology around fraud detection, which is always a big thing with affiliate marketing. It's getting even better because of that. Being able to analyze the data that you have from your database and being able to recognize and flag, like, who are emerging affiliates that we need to be paying attention to, who are people that we need to reactivate, just really kind of crunching the data more, who are people that we should be giving a bump in commission to. You can do that so much easier with AI. It kind of levels the playing field for people that had, specialists crunching the data. Like now anyone can really use that. They understand the tools. I think from a perspective of affiliate marketing as a whole, I'm kind of stepping back on my heels a little bit and just watching the landscape change, because I'm seeing a really big shift in distribution. That's always been a core focus of mine. When you said the who, like that's what I think I'm like a world-class who person. Like I've built my whole career on knowing there's always a what and a how, right? We know what we have to do. We have to implement AI into our business, right? We know we have to. The how part is a little bit unclear, because it's like, do we have our team learn the latest AI course? Is it even going to be relevant by the time they finish it? Is it going to work with their current tech stacks? Like, what are we doing here? Whereas I would rather just say, okay, who's the world class in the who at AI in these particular specialties? And why don't we just hire them, because they're the experts at the what and the how, and bring them in, right? And so that distribution is changing a lot, where I'm seeing a huge swing in distribution to TikTok, right? Where before it was like a lot of mommy bloggers and networks and listicles and stuff. That share is going heavily to TikTok. And it has its own algorithm and its own way of doing things. The TikTok shop is changing. We're seeing things like Shopify emerge and start being more native into the platform of YouTube. So the rise of creators are more and more. And so I'm also concerned for the affiliate partners that rely only on the content bloggers, listicles, because now with things like Perplexity and ChatGPT, you're skipping that, traditional way of searching. So for people who are relying on that type of affiliate partner, how do we, do we keep working with them, or should we start changing our distribution, looking at different affiliates? I think it's just a really interesting landscape. And I think for me, my job is to just say, okay, who's the best in the world at TikTok affiliates? We're finding them. Who's the best in the world at this and this and this, and we're finding them, and that's what I'm going to partner with and align myself with, because I can see that being the future, while still keeping a firm foot planted in the network, email, kind of listicle side, because it's still relevant. But I think that how it's being used is going to shift, particularly around customer acquisition on the front end.
Nice. So it sounds like you are way advanced in terms of keeping an eye on how things are shifting and how to incorporate them in your business. So you are obviously one of those innovators who are always at the forefront of cutting edge technology. But from all the conversations you're having, what is your sense of like other entrepreneurs or leaders? Do you think they are keeping up with what is happening with technologies like AI?
I think it depends on groups that you're in, right? So like I'm really heavy in marketing, and I think we're some of the first adapters of AI. And I think we're still very much learning, right? Because I think what we're seeing in a lot of cases is, particularly in terms of like content generation, I don't think the content, we're doing ourselves a favor. I think we're pumping out a lot of content that's not very good. So I think the volume of it is certainly increasing, but I'm not seeing the quality yet quite being there. I think in places like customer service making a significant difference. But other places, other industries like brick and mortar or, kind of blue collar, stuff like that, I don't see it as much. Whereas I think they could have huge outside benefits in using it. But I think it's that thing where it feels to me very much like 15 years ago when everyone was getting on, SEO and PPC and all that. It feels like there's a strong like understanding that you have to be there. But I think people are stuck on like, how do we do we need a whole new team? Do we get our team using these systems? If so, how can we get them cross-training each other? Like, I think there's a lot of like uncertainty in that. And so, yeah, that's just kind of what I'm seeing. Like in the marketing field, of course, we got it really early. We're like, this is going to make our lives a lot easier. So we're going to implement it, but still playing around with so many different tools. And just playing around with quality and also like team resistance too, because I've seen it in my own team, I've seen it in clients' teams, that resistance. But we have to learn it. Like if we want to stay not just relevant, but if we want to stay lean and we want to stay profitable, I think that it's a must.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So tell me a little bit now, shifting gears in this journey of yours, having impacted so many people, having built all these businesses, what were some of the key lessons you learned? Maybe you made some mistakes which led you to some important lessons. So can you share with us with those lessons that you remember today and you implement them in your ventures?
Totally. Oh my God, I could talk about my mistakes for years. But a few simple ones that I can share is, very early on, I felt like insecure about my skills, particularly around things like operation and finances. Because like I shared, I was homeschooled, right? And I wasn't taught math. I know money math like really well. But the rest of math, projections, P&Ls, kind of all that stuff I outsourced that to my business partners, and I just became even better at the who and the sales part. So I've been really, really good at that. But I realized, as I kind of advanced in my career, that I really didn't need most of my partners. Not to say that we have still great relationships, and I have so much respect and love for them, and we're all happy. There's no problems between us, but I did realize how I could have been better off if I had partnered on projects and not partnered in my business and giving up equity, because I was insecure, right? And so I was insecure about myself and unsure of my skills, and I was underdeveloped in those areas. And truly, I believe that operations and stuff like that should be, you can hire that out. There's so many quality people that you can hire instead of giving equity away. And before I partner with anyone now, I'm very clear on operating agreements. So, we'd sign our partnership agreements, but like we didn't really have clarity in the contracts around things like, what if someone takes a 6-month sabbatical? What if, someone gets a divorce? What happens then? What happens if someone is injured and can't work for, a year? What happens if someone just wants to walk away? What is the buyout clause? Like learning and really implementing that. Because now I'd rather have a strong piece of paper than a weak piece of mind, right? Like I really spending time talking about the problem, the potential problems that could arise and how we're going to navigate through that. I'd also recommend, having somebody in your corner that is either like a coach or a therapist or both, like a business coach that can walk you through all the different levels of, your business, whether it's growing or it's not. That has walked that path before many times. I will also add that, because I've also hired coaches that like did one thing really well 20 years ago and they're still riding high on that way to success, and everything has changed, right? So I've made all the mistakes, so many of the mistakes, right? And so I would say, partnering on projects first and really getting clear on, hey, we're going to do a project inside of my business, but you're not going to take the whole business. And then if we do see, success on that, my new way of doing partnerships is I don't partner. I'm minority partner or I'm majority partner. It's like one of the three, because 50-50 don't work, in my opinion. I've tried it. So that's, another one. And if you really care about your relationships, like me and my business partners all have, having that therapist that we talk to as partners, having that coach that we can turn to, having a peer group has been really instrumental. And having that strong paperwork and being willing to renegotiate. I like to now look at things every year and be like, are we happy with the structure? Do we feel like we need to change the splits or the payouts or the time? Do we need to update the operating agreement? What is going on? Like, I think that's another really important one. I feel like there's a lot of business partnerships where people feel trapped and they feel hostage. And I know that because I have the career that I have. I'm in the back end of a lot of different companies. And so I know that to be true. And it a lot of times is not because of anything other than people are just growing in different directions, or they didn't set things up properly in the first place. They didn't know. They didn't know what to ask. They were afraid to ask for certain things, right? Or their lives just completely changed. One person had a bunch of kids, one person didn't, right? So it's just, I think those are things that I've learned so early on, I didn't learn early on in my career that I've learned more now. Those have been expensive lessons, but they have been some of the best lessons that I've ever had. And, it's something, if I could share with other people, like definitely, think through that.
Yeah, absolutely. These are great for anybody, even if they are starting off or they are already successful. I think these are great lessons. Thanks for sharing. So now what's next? Like, you have a bunch of things coming up. Like, what's exciting in your world?
So I've got my, it's so funny, I call it my big annual event. I just started calling that because we needed a placeholder for the name. That's coming up in Orlando. It's about 175 handpicked leaders in, a bunch of different verticals. And we're getting together for 4 days. 2 days are spent like in deep connection time. We're filming podcasts, we're golfing together, or dance parties, or talent shows, or kind of all that. And then 2 days and that kind of custom curated content. And I'm really excited about it. Every year I challenge myself and the team to just push myself even more. How can we, what is our competitive advantage? I think is the fact that we keep it purposely around that size. And so we're always like kind of looking at our roster of people and be like, are we getting better or worse in these categories? And do we have the right people here? And then from there, I think our competitive advantage is that we're not a 600 or multi-thousand person event. So we can really get into the nitty gritty for them and really make sure that we're customizing their experience and giving them a plan tailored personally to them. And I know I'm doing a great job where afterwards I'll look back and I'll say, oh, these people met at my event and they're getting married. These people met and they're partners. These people met and they just had a great exit. Like, right. They're like, that's the kind of stuff that we see after these events. And we also see the magic happening during, but like, that's the fun part for me, is like having people come up to me during the event or after and being like, changed my life because of this person, like changed my life because of this talk. That was exactly what I needed. How did you know? And it's like, I knew because you told me. I knew because I read every single intake form myself. And I think that's our nimbleness. I think it'd be very challenging to do that at that level with a group of 500 or 1,000 people.
Yeah, no, obviously that's a great way to do it. So, how now? So we are sort of coming towards the end of the conversation. I can go on with you, but if people are interested in working with you or attending one of your events, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Such a sweet thing to ask. If they're entrepreneurs looking for a peer group, fourroomsmastermind.com is how they could find us. And then I always give my email address, amber@fourroomsmastermind.com. It's mine. Always welcome to contact me. If you're looking to increase your reach and your revenue with partnerships and affiliates, eastfifthavenue.com, 5th Avenue, fully spelled out. Same thing, amber@eastfifthavenue.com. We'd be happy to help anybody on your podcast if we can. And if not, I'm sure we can send some great referrals their way of people who we feel like could. Because I think that's half the battle, is finding the right people, right? Finding that who. So always happy to connect them with the who, and happy to serve people in any way that I possibly can.
Awesome. Well, we'll put those links in the show notes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.